Hey guys, it's QuickyBaby and welcome to Can't Win Them All. This video is going to be dedicated to a game which I felt that although I put every effort into, I was unable to come out with the victory. So there's a bit of a spoiler there, but I guess the title had already kind of ruined any kind of surprise of the outcome of this battle. Now what I'm going to be trying to do is discuss what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and then hopefully towards the middle and the end, we can think about whether there was anything that was obvious that maybe I could have done to be able to change the outcome. So I'm playing in the Tier 6 British medium tank. This is the Cromwell. It's very fast, and as you can see, we've been able to get into an aggressive early location, set up binoculars, and hopefully be able to spot most of the enemy's movements over the lower part of the desert. So there we go. We can spot a VK360-1H. It's a Tier 6 German heavy tank. And considering the range of this engagement, we were able to put shots at him without getting spotted. Now it's the same deal for this Churchill 7. We have him at about 400 meters, and thankfully our binoculars mean that we can spot him, but he doesn't have a clue where we are. He can only guess. I do have 6th sense on this tank, so when we do get spotted, it will let you know. So he's managed to get himself into a bit of cover here, but we're able to loop some shells over this rock and still put them onto his tank. Now there's a Jagdpanzervier there. It's very likely now that this Jagdpanzervier will be able to spot us. But he doesn't manage to. Maybe he has a poor crew on that tank. Remember that your commander's skill directly influences the view range of your vehicle. And so if you do have a commander with a low skill crew, maybe you've just bought the tank and you're playing it for the first few times, then you're going to have to make do with having quite a low view range for a while. And finally, we get spotted, most likely by that KV-1S, who bypassed the middle of the desert and managed to make his way up and around. Now, I've done 1,179 damage so far in the first 2.5 minutes of the game before we started to relocate. However, we are down 6 tanks. So that flank looks like it needs some help. And thankfully, as I am driving this lightning-fast cruiser-type vehicle, we're able to relocate the entire length of the battlefield to hopefully get to where we need to go. So, the Cromwell is okay at long ranges. Its accuracy is pretty good. But it does take a long time to aim. This tank does not use vertical stabilizers, and I choose to use binoculars over a gun-laying drive, which makes the aiming time on this vehicle quite long indeed, especially considering it's so fast that it makes its aiming reticule go very large in between where you can stop to engage your next target. Even the broadside of a Hellcat can sometimes be challenging to hit with a Cromwell. A great job by that KV-1S to take that Hellcat out, and now we have the side of this M4. I was unable to save that KV-1S, that's quite a shame. He was an important vehicle. We've managed to take out that flank as well now. So our team is not 6 tanks behind at least now, we're behind by 4. And being able to change flanks is a luxury that probably the only Cromwell would be able to do at Tier 6, at least in this matchup. Maybe the SU-100 or the Jagdpanzervier could be able to change flanks as well. But now I've left the east has fallen. And you're starting to get an idea of what this video is all about. I feel that the only option for me now is to be aggressive. I have to kill all of these tanks on this western flank and then go and deal with the eastern flank as well. as there's only one tank remaining on my team, excluding myself, which is a tier 6 Soviet heavy tank. Now this looks like an ugly situation. I do not think the enemies thought that I would be doing this. So I want to focus on the tank destroyer. We get tracked. We managed to take out the Jagdpanzerwehr. Now it's time to focus on the heavy. We take him out as well. And now there's a dangerous tier 6 Soviet tank destroyer trying to remove us from the battle. So we're trying to avoid the artillery now. I want to avoid fire from the east. I want to basically try and get as far west as I can to turn it into a one-on-one versus this Su-100. Looks like he's using the 122mm. I have to hope the KV-1S will miss me right now. I have to stay behind this Su-100. Luckily the artillery misses us, and we set the Su-100 on fire, avoiding the shell from behind. Now I don't have time for the artillery. The artillery isn't the worry for me right now. The fact that I have a Stug behind me is. So I auto-aim at the Stug, and I'm basically trying to evade his shots. Look where I'm going and trying to wiggle. Because right now I need to get away from this Stug and the VK3601 and try and make my way back towards the cap.
I can't see the target.
I'm going to stop firing now because I believe the enemies will lose sight of me if I do so. Remember that when you fire, even when you're on the move, you reduce your camera rating by a significant portion, and it's likely that enemies will be able to see you from further distances. So we're making our way along the south here, and this is a very grave situation. We've been able to pull off 2,800 damage, and somehow went into a 1 versus 4 fight there, and came out on top. Unfortunately, the Cromwell is not the heavily armoured vehicle that you would almost require to be able to pull off a victory in this kind of game. And even though we're fast, this is an assault game and not an encounter game. And unfortunately, we're unable to get back to the cap to stop the enemies from securing. And that Matilda Black Prince that we're able to put a shot into manages to take us out at the end of the game. And so despite all of our efforts in trying to make the right plays, we were unable to win the game. Nevertheless, this was a mastery badge. We managed to pick up 1,309 base experience in the Cromwell for a defeat, 50% higher than any of the winning team. And thanks to courageous resistance, as we got the high caliber medal, we got 490 bonus experience out of that, meaning that was a 2,453 experience game with the premium account for a loss. So sometimes half your team are going to do no damage. But often that's not the problem. The fact is that they die so quickly that you physically are unable to do enough damage to be able to carry the game. We had to travel over 4 kilometers there and engage in a 1 versus 4 situation, taking out full health tanks of equal tier to even give us a chance. Hopefully this replay showed you guys the capabilities of the Cromwell. It has to be my favorite tank at tier 6. It's an absolutely beautiful vehicle, and when used correctly it can outplay nearly every tank of equal tier. Now looking back at this game, is there anything that I could have done differently? So maybe instead of changing flanks in the 3rd minute, I could have held the ground and looked after the cap. But equally that might have just resulted in getting surrounded in a lightly armoured tank with no room to maneuver. Alternatively, knowing that the enemies were going to cap, I shouldn't have fled west after I'd finished off that Su-100. I could have gone against that VK3601 and then been able to try and sneak some shots into the cap to interrupt and harass the opponents. I guess I misjudged the situation and was hoping that the enemies wouldn't try to cap out, considering it was a 1 versus 6 at the end of the game. Nevertheless, I guess you just can't win them all. Anyway, let's take a look at some more gameplay.
Let's get this show on the road.
So I'm defending again, this time on Karelia. I'm in the Cromwell. The matchup this time isn't so good, although I guess there are only 4 tier 7 tanks on the enemy team, so that's not too bad. So I'm going to make my way into a aggressive position, again, early. and try and make use of the excellent view range with binoculars to get early shots on my opponents. And there we go. There's an M4.
Enemy armor is damaged. We didn't even scratch them.
Needed to aim that one slightly further to the left.
Enemy is hit.
Looks like the VK next to me is spotted, and so am I. So I pull back off the ridgeline, and have made a good early kill. Now that position is rather strong at the beginning of the game. The early spot there can stop your opponents from trying to get into the most important location on the map, which is here. This D4 area is the most important location. We see a T-49 up on the slope. Put one good shot into him. And that's amazing when you think of it. He's a tier 5 tank destroyer. We shaved off a third of his health with one shot.
Enemy armor is damaged.
Now we're engaging a Comet at about 500 meters.
Damage them.
Now this is where you have to be a bit creative with your shots in the Cromwell. We're keeping an eye out on the KV-1S while firing blind, keeping our gun in the last known location of the Comet.
We've damaged them.
The Comet gets tracked.
Great shot. Enemy armor is damaged.
We're trying to give lead to him. And we'll fire a couple of blind shots. So we were unable to take down the Comet, but we did a lot of damage to him. Now we can see there's an SU-100 located just below where the enemies spawn, on top of the hill. Now that SU-100 is a very dangerous player, and I would absolutely love to take him out early in the game.
Penetration.
So KV-1S is trying to spot us from above. His view range is very poor though. And engaging him at this 440 meters that he was is going to mean that we do not get spotted. So you're seeing a bit of a pattern in the Cromwell here. Early game. Oh, that was a bad shot. Not enough, well, too much lead on that one. And then I unfortunately hit the rock as well as the shot goes slightly too far to the left. Luckily though, we don't get spotted. So you might be seeing a pattern in the Cromwell gameplay here. As it is a lightly armored tank, what I'd like to do at the beginning is to provide fire support. And it's very likely that we've done about 1,500 damage so far, including the blind shots on the Comet. The AMX-12T is starting to get closer to that D4 area, which is the most important part on the map. And we have a Chi-Ha who goes down to try and take him out, who's on very low health. The KV-1S manages to spike us for the majority of our hit points. A nice roll there for the KV-1S, rolling about 10 or 15% higher than his average. That gives you an idea of just how brutal the KV-1S is, shaving half the health off an equal tier medium tank. So we have a Cromwell down below us. We're going to go and try and hunt him. We miss our first shot. We're not going to let that dissuade us from an engagement.
Enemy armor is hit.
I know he's firing an HE, a high caliber gun here.
We've damaged them.
But luckily,
Gotcha.
our 75mm, I believe, yes, 75mm in the Cromwell, is able to take him out effectively without taking a shot in return. And it's good that we weren't hit, because it's quite likely if he did that he would penetrate us and remove the vast majority of the remainder of our hit points. So I feel that this game is going in favor of the enemies, so I need to make an aggressive play. Unfortunately, I do get spotted. I turn my gun round, hoping to be able to shoot the 12T, but I'm unable to. So the aggressive play that I'm making is to try and put pressure on the opponents. I considered going round. I thought I needed to go up and help that T-29 with the IS. And I think right now I'm best suited into shooting back into our spawn location. I need to do it quickly. We're down 3 tanks on the enemy. And we have 2 tier 7s left, while they have 3 of their tier 7s left. So T-29 is a very powerful tank remaining in this matchup. And there's that SU-100, who's been sneaking around since early in the game. We hit one into him, but he manages to sneak behind a rock. And that SU-100 is a very good player. He's very likely to be using the 122mm that will kill us in one shot. I need to work with my team to be able to do damage to these T-29. And there's the Comet. One great shot into him interrupts the entirety of their cap. The second one ricochets. We fire the third blind. It seems like it hits him. Ah, we managed to hit him. Now we have a Churchill to interrupt as well. Put one into him. And the T-29 finishes him off. I have to be aggressive here and engage this T-29 before he kills my friend. But we're unable to. And so now we have a 1 versus 5 situation where I'm on half health. So what I'm thinking is the SU-100 more or less knows where I am. I cannot get ambushed by that SU-100. If I do, I'll simply die. Now there's a full health tier 7 German medium tank up on the hill. And I think my best bet is to either run away from the enemies now and hope they don't cap, or be able to go round, kill the artillery, kill the Panther, and then shoot back into our base. But I've got to do it quickly. In a 5-on-1 situation, you have to be aggressive. So I'm trying to find the artillery right now. Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? And 2 of them are capping. I only have 30 seconds left to act.
Enemy armor is hit.
We kill the artillery quickly, and we spot that tier 7 German medium tank. Oh my word, how am I going to get through this situation? I decided I want to try and win the game and not just do damage. So I go straight at the Panther. Get shot by the KV-1 from the cap circle. Now I have to interrupt the cap. So I make my way down. Try and get into a position to spot the cappers. I have to get closer to them. Blind fire a few at the cap circle. And unfortunately, we're unable to win the game. In hindsight, I did not think the enemies were going to cap as aggressively as they did. The way that I saw the game developing was that the T-29 would continue to flank around to try and pick me off. The SU-100 might camp in the middle and try and shoot across at me, while the KV-1 would probably start capping. I thought I had enough time to take out the artillery, maybe start to whittle down the Panther, and then be able to fire back into the spawn to hopefully interrupt the KV-1. I misjudged that either the SU-100 or the T-29 would go back to cap, and that we were unable to interrupt in time. This was a 43%er, so I knew I would have to carry pretty hard. 2,700 damage and 3 kills in a tier 6 medium was not enough. In retrospect, it might have been better for me to go and try and engage the T-29, who, if using the 105mm, could very easily one-shot me, and I would have to penetrate him 6 or 7 times to kill him. Looking back on the game, when I was hesitating around here, if I'd been more decisive and gone round and dealt with the SU-100 and the Panther, I might have been able to have a larger impact in the game. But I was just hoping that this T-29, who had had an excellent game already picking up 4 kills, would hang on for just that little bit longer to be able to let me do some more work. So let's just take a very quick look at the post-game stats. So this time it wasn't a mastery badge, I believe this was a first-class game. We got another high-caliber medal in our tier 7 game. Once again, getting more experience than any of the enemy team. And with the courageous resistance, this was 2,186 experience for our single. So really the key reason why I'm bringing out this video is to show you that there are some games that you probably just can't win. Or at least that you'd have to be a better player to be able to do so. So when this happens, there are 2 ways that you can go about it. 1, you can blame your team and you can get angry and mad. 2, you can look at what maybe you could have done better, which is likely to help you grow as a player and get better more quickly. Quite often the best option is just to play again. Or if you find that you're predominantly the first getting mad, then take a break from the game. Even if you just go grab a drink, do some chores, just get your mind out of the game for a second so you can think more objectively. Now, I'm not perfect, I'm definitely fallible, and I will make mistakes. I get angry and mad too, and sometimes I become subjective and blame things when I should really look at myself. I get asked all the time, what should I do to get better as a player? And one of my key suggestions to you is to not get angry and not get mad, because if you do so, you're going to play bad. Going on tilt is a poker term for when you've allowed a single or a series of bad luck events to affect your judgment. Now in poker, that's terrible because you're going to lose more money and then play worse, and then it's a vicious cycle, as you can see. Now you can take this and apply it to your World of Tanks game as well. If you're having a bad day and bad luck, try your hardest to not let it affect you emotionally, because it's only ever really going to make things worse. And my single biggest piece of advice to people who want to get better at the game is, ask what I could have done better rather than what the team could have done better. Because remember that you are the only person who is in every single one of your games. And that means that over a very large number of games, that your win percentage is going to be directly correlated to you and how you play. Anyway guys, I must apologize for being slightly unwell at the moment, but I'm trying to get video content for you anyway. If you've enjoyed this video, please do consider rating it down below, it really helps the channel out. And let me know in the comments if you think there are games that are simply unwinnable. And do you find yourself going on tilt in World of Tanks? Anyway guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, you've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.